I'm going to go on to the next call. Or not call, but this is someone who's in the chat room right now. This is Ariana from Coffs Harbour, Australia. She says, my husband and I still celebrate Christmas, but we're not sure whether or not to tell our kids about Santa. Is telling my kids that Santa exists the same as telling my kids that gods exist? Do you want me to go over to you, or would you rather I just keep monologuing?
Like to talk about this briefly.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Let's see. With things like Santa, I think is more important ultimately is what happens when you tell your kids that Santa does not exist. How do you explain that? And do you draw any parallels between gods? When you're saying, no, he doesn't exist. It was something we did to bring charm to your childhood.
Were you told about Santa as a kid?
Yeah.
Okay. And they took it seriously. Was your husband, the very secular Jew, also told about Santa? Okay. Does he in any way feel that his childhood was stolen because of that?
No.
Okay. I think there's your answer.
Okay, yeah.
When my ex and I had our son, we went back and forth on talking about whether to introduce him to Santa Claus or not, and we ultimately decided not. And the only place that has ever actually caused him trouble is that, when you're dealing with a bunch of kids your own age who do still believe in Santa Claus, you either an 8-year-old's either going to wind up blurting it out, or he's going to be highly trained in the notion of lying to people.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I mean, this problem has come up because I'm of actually three minds about this. On the one hand, I don't think that really believing in Santa Claus is necessary or does anybody any good. On the second hand, I feel uncomfortable about my kid interfering, let's say, with the way that other parents have decided to raise their children. And on the third hand, when it came up and he started telling people at around age 5, what, you think Santa Claus is real? I had to tell him, don't tell other kids that Santa Claus isn't real. And he said, you want me to lie to them? So that was kind of awkward. And the way I eventually came up with explaining it to him was I said, grown-ups play a game with kids. They're not going to keep lying to them forever. Most kids believe in Santa Claus. Grown-ups know that there's no Santa Claus. And so it's kind of like playing a joke on somebody. Now you're in on the joke. So you're going to have to play along and keep the secret because that's the way it is. But, don't in any way mistake this for thinking that you ought to believe in stuff that isn't real.
I have a sister who's 9 years younger than I am, and it was always fun with her, sort of being in on the joke.
Okay. Did she? So she did believe in Santa.
Yeah, because since she was 9 years younger, she believed in him longer than I did.
Okay. How old was she when she found out?
I think she was 5.
Okay.
She figured it out pretty early, actually.
Oh, okay. Good.
Sir.
How did that go?
My mom was a little bit disappointed. It felt like all of her kids were grown up and decided to continue doing Santa anyway.
Okay.
So
let's see. Yeah, we always just told him that we're the present givers, and when I did actually take him to the mall a couple of times, and I would bring him to the Santa line and say, look, there's a guy dressed as Santa Claus. And all those other kids believe in him. So The question was, is telling my kids that Santa Claus exists the same as telling my kids that gods exist? Here's one thing I would say in support of telling your kids about Santa Claus. I think, I saw it summed up in a poster once where there was a picture of a very, very poorly disguised Santa, and the caption on the bottom says, "Dear kids, one day your parents will tell you the truth about Santa Claus. When they do, be sure to ask them more about God." A lot of Christians are, in fact, distressed about the idea of secularizing the holidays and having having all this Santa Claus stuff around, especially because when kids find out that Santa Claus is just an imaginary story that people told them to make them feel good, they are naturally going to make the logical connection. What about this God person? He's still real, right? It's possible that Santa Claus is actually the greatest tool for undermining Christianity that's ever been invented, but I wouldn't count on it. So that's all I can say.